Uneasiness lingering over the trade stance between US and China. President Donald Trump declaring America is back in a trade war with China.
Mr. President, you're meeting with President Xi in a few weeks.
Yeah.
If you can't come to an agreement or a deal at that meeting, are we in for a sustained trade war with China?
Well, you're in one now. Look, we have 100% tariff. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be exposed as being a nothing. We would have no defense.
Although Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent appearing to take a more conciliatory tone, he has hinted at an extended truce in exchange for a halt in China's recent export controls on rare earth elements. But Mr. Bessent still criticized the new curbs, saying the world will need to decouple from China if the country wishes to be, I quote, an unreliable partner to the world. China's Commerce Ministry said America's interpretation of its rare earth controls has distorted facts and caused panic. The office also emphasizing that the new rules does not equate to a ban. And for more on this, Nick Harper is covering developments for CNA live from Washington, D.C. Nick, how are these remarks shaping the trade situation and relationship between U.S. and China?
Well, Angela, the Treasury Secretary and the President seem to be engaged in this good cop, bad cop routine, which is not uncommon for the Trump administration. We often see this ahead of talks. There is this pressure campaign, really the Trump administration setting up that stack of bargaining chips, laying out what they want, but also what will happen if they don't get their way. Scott Bessent dangling this carrot in front of China, suggesting that Washington might extend that 90-day pause on tariffs. It's currently due to run out around the beginning of November, and they could do that, but only if China halts its export controls on their rare earths. So that's the good news. But Bessent was also criticizing the Chinese Vice Commerce Minister, Li Chenggang, after he visited Washington, D.C. back in August. He said that Li showed up uninvited. But of course, the US-China relations very much in focus here in Washington this week. The IMF and the World Bank meetings, they're underway, and much of what is being discussed is the impact of the trade war between the two countries, the impact of Donald Trump's tariffs, and how that is impacting global economies and the markets. And they've also been looking at China's rare earth export controls, and we are seeing a spillover that is now drawing in other nations as well. Japan, for example, wants a more united response from all of the G7 countries on the rare earths situation. The European Union also weighing in. They say they want to partner up with the G7 to try and push back. The EU's trade commissioner has also accused China of weaponizing those rare earths. And then South Korea, it says that it's launching a rare earths task force that's being headed up by the industry ministry.
And Nick, how would all of this then impact trade talks with other nations?
Well, the US is also making it clear that it is able to walk and chew gum at the same time. So, yes, we do have these simmering problems with China, but it is saying that it's forging ahead with other countries when it comes to other countries' trade relationships. The US touting that we are likely to see a big week ahead. Donald Trump about to embark on a very large tour of Asia, heading to the ASEAN summit in Malaysia about a week away, then on to Japan, then South Korea for the APEC summit. Scott Bessent saying that he's expecting trade announcements during that trip. Amongst those, he said the US is about to finish up negotiations with South Korea, saying that that could involve a very large investment package. It could perhaps be similar to the investment plan we saw between the US and Japan. Japan promising a $550 billion investment fund earlier this summer. Bessent also said that talks with Canada, they're back on track. And he said there has been progress in talks with India. Of course, all of those talks aimed at trying to reduce tariffs imposed by the US against those countries. So lots going on, but I guess we're still waiting for concrete details that we might get during the president's trip to Asia.
Nick, thank you for bringing us the latest. That was Nick Harper covering developments for CNA live from Washington, D.C.